In 1847, inside a hospital in Vienna, a doctor made a discovery that should have saved millions of lives. Instead, it destroyed him. Vienna General Hospital ran two maternity wards side by side, admitting women on alternating days. In one ward, roughly 1 in 10 new mothers died within days of giving birth. In the other, the death rate was nearly 5 times lower. Word spread through the city. Women begged to be admitted to the second ward. Some gave birth in the street rather than risk the first. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. Something inside that first ward was killing women, and no one could explain what. A young Hungarian physician named Ignaz Semmelweis was assigned to find out. He compared everything: diet, ventilation, even the position women delivered in. Nothing explained the gap. The two wards were staffed differently, though. The deadlier one was staffed by doctors and medical students, the safer one by midwives. Then, in 1847, a colleague of his named Jakub Kolechka died after being accidentally cut with a scalpel during a student's autopsy. When Semmelweis examined the pathology of his friend's death, he froze. The tissue damage looked identical to what he'd seen in hundreds of dead mothers. The doctors and students in the first ward were performing autopsies each morning, then walking straight to the delivery room. No hand washing, no change of clothes. Semmelweis reached a conclusion that terrified him. The doctors themselves, hands still carrying what he called cadaverous particles, were the ones killing their patients. He ordered every doctor and student to wash their hands in a chlorinated lime solution before touching a patient. It was crude, and it smelled awful, and nobody understood why it would matter. There was no germ theory yet. No one had ever seen a bacterium, but the numbers didn't lie. Within months, mortality in the first ward collapsed from nearly 18% to close to 2%. A basin of water and a bit of chemical had done what no medicine of the era could. You would think that was the end of the story. A triumph. A cure. It wasn't. The senior doctors of Vienna did not want to hear that they had been killing their own patients with their own hands. Semmelweis had no explanation they could accept, no visible microbe to point to, only results. And results, without a theory the establishment could believe, were not enough. He was mocked in medical journals. His contract at the hospital was not renewed. He tried to publish his findings and was largely ignored or dismissed outright. Colleagues who once respected him began to treat him as an embarrassment. Semmelweis did not stay quiet. He grew furious, writing open letters accusing prominent doctors of being, in his words, irresponsible murderers. His tone alienated the very people who might have helped him. The more he insisted he was right, the more the medical world closed ranks against him. Over the following years, his behavior grew erratic. Historians still debate the cause, whether early-onset dementia or a slow psychological collapse under the weight of being right and disbelieved. In 1865, colleagues lured him to an asylum in Vienna under false pretenses. When he realized what was happening and tried to leave, guards restrained him by force. He died 2 weeks later, from a wound sustained during that struggle that turned gangrenous. He died most likely from the same category of infection he had spent his career trying to prevent. He was 47 years old. It would take nearly 2 more decades and the work of Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister before the world accepted that invisible organisms could kill and that washing your hands could stop them. Today, hand hygiene is the single most basic rule in every hospital on Earth. Nurses learn it in their first week. It is so obvious now that it's hard to imagine a time when a man was destroyed for insisting it was true. Semmelweis never got to see it. He died believing he had failed. History disagrees. His name is now attached to a documented psychological pattern: the tendency of people, even experts, to reject truths that don't fit what they already believe. They call it the Semmelweis reflex. The next time you watch a doctor wash their hands before touching you, remember that someone had to prove it mattered first and pay for it with everything he had.